Hello, students. This is Professor McDermott, welcoming you to the course History 2112, U.S. History after 1877. The first topic we're going to cover is manifest destiny. That is, the idea that it was the destiny of the United States to spread westward and eventually to take over all of the territory in North America between the Atlantic and Pacific oceans. The problem was, of course, that the native inhabitants of the western lands were still there. And so the story of Manifest Destiny is often the story of violent clashes between American settlers and American Indians in the West. Normally, in these video introductions, which I'll post for each module, I'm going to recap the previous week's discussions, but obviously we haven't had any yet. So this time I'm just going to talk about some important things you need to know about the course. First of all, if you haven't already done so, please read the syllabus and the order of assignments carefully. These two documents are posted in the Start Here folder, and they will help you a lot, and they will answer many of your questions. For the rest of this video, I want to talk really about the heart and soul of the course, which is the discussion board. And the procedure that we're going to be following for these discussions, and just the fact that these discussions are really so central to the course, is probably quite different from other classes you've taken, even other online classes. So I really want to focus on this in some detail, and also explain why we're going to be doing the course this way. So this module, you're going to have two sets of discussion questions. The first is just one question. It's a self-introduction that I'm asking you to make to the other members of your group. If you saw the email I sent out on Saturday, and the news post I posted on our homepage, every member of the class has been assigned to one of three groups, and you'll be carrying on discussions only with members of your group, so you need to know who they are. So on this self-introduction question, follow the instructions in the order of assignments for introducing yourself to your other group members. But the other questions you're going to have focus on the issue of manifest destiny, and the document that your group will have about manifest destiny. So first, read the document. And then look at the three questions. You need to answer all three questions for your group. The first step will be to post your individual answer to the question based on the document. And you do that by clicking Start a New Thread. By the way, there are two ways to get to these questions, either through course content in the Reading and Discussions folder for your group, or by clicking the discussions link at the top of our homepage. So once you've gotten to the question, click Start a New Thread and then post your answer based on your reading of the document. Once you have posted your answer, you will be able to see other people's answers to the questions. Then, for each question, I want you to then jump onto the focus thread that I've provided for that question. All the discussion will actually be carried out on the focus thread, and there is a reason for this. I found it works much better than having people just reply to other people's threads, because then everyone has to keep up with 10 or 11 or 12 different threads, whereas if we all move on to the focus thread, that's only one thread to keep up with, and we're all on the same page. So the goal on the focus thread is to try to work towards an answer to the question that all group members can agree on. And so you want to comment on the posts that other group members have made, agreeing sometimes or disagreeing with things that they've said. And I know Darton students are all very polite and very well-mannered people, and sometimes are reluctant to disagree because you don't want to be a jerk, but really don't be afraid to disagree and even to mix it up a little bit, as long as it's done in a polite and respectful manner, because this is the way we actually get to the truth of history. Um, so, agree, disagree, discuss, and as the discussion is going on, then the chairs will step in to help guide the discussion. For each module's discussion questions, I will appoint a chair for each group. And the chairs for Module 1 are Melissa Boone for Group 1, Joy Douglas for Group 2, and William Rachel for Group 3. Now, Melissa, Joy, and William, I'm not being mean to you. I just did this strictly based on alphabetical order, and then the chairs will rotate by alphabetical order. But chairs, here and henceforward, your job will be to keep the discussion moving forward. And after the issues have been discussed in enough depth, to suggest a possible answer that everyone could agree on to the question. So you'll want to formulate an answer to the question that incorporates everybody's insights, not just your own. That's very important. Try to draw on everyone's posts and come up with an answer that you think everyone can agree on. Post it on the focus thread, and then everyone will get a chance to comment. You can suggest tweaks. Once the group has reached a consensus on an answer, then chairs, it's also your job to post that answer on the answer thread, which I've also provided. That may sound a little bit complicated, but I've found that it actually works better than other methods I've tried, and believe me, you will get the hang of it before very long. One other comment on these discussions. It's important that you use as your browser either Safari, Google Chrome, or Firefox, and not Internet Explorer. Because sometimes if students use Internet Explorer, it seems to be working, but I've had reports that posts have simply disappeared and students have lost their work. So you don't want that to happen. So use Safari, Google Chrome, or Firefox. There are links on the D2L login page where you can download any one of those browsers. Well, at this point, you may be asking yourself the question, Dr. McDermott, why are you doing this to us? and there are reasons. So I want to explain why I've constructed the course in this way. First of all, I was actually a little skeptical about online teaching when I started. I didn't know how it could possibly replicate the experience in a face-to-face classroom, but I realized that there is one advantage to online teaching over face-to-face, and that is that you actually have a lot of time to read, to think, and to go in depth, to come up with a very in-depth, detailed, considered answer to questions about these source documents we're going to be reading. If you think about it, if we were having a classroom discussion, I might ask you a question about the document, and you'd have a split second to try to come up with an answer. And that's not always easy, but in this format, we have 11 or 12 days to discuss and to come up with an answer. And so you have a lot of time to think about this and to really go deep into these source documents. And in order to promote that, as far as your grading is concerned, in order to get full credit for each discussion question, that is 25 points, you're going to have to post your initial post by the 5th day of the module. And for this module, that will mean posting by 11:59 p.m. this Friday. This is so everybody can get into the discussion early, and we will have plenty of time to have a full discussion of each question. The second reason why I constructed the class this way is that if you've ever had my face-to-face class, you know that the source documents we're reading are really the heart and soul of the course, and the discussions we have about them are the heart and soul of the course. I think it's much more interesting to read a document written by someone who actually lived at the time we're studying, who actually was an eyewitness to the events we're talking about, as opposed to reading a textbook that was written decades later by a professional historian. And although students sometimes have difficulty with these documents at first, because some of them are written in old-fashioned language that's a little hard to understand, usually by the end of the course, students tell me that they found the documents very enriching because this is a way to get to know the people we're studying, to see what made them tick, to get their insights, to try to understand their minds, and to see how the things they went through relate to things we're going through at the present moment in history. So I think you will enjoy this. If you have difficulty reading the documents, don't hesitate to contact me. I've also posted a link to a dictionary in Galileo on the top menu bar on our homepage. So make use of that if there are any words you're not familiar with. And don't be embarrassed also to ask your other group mates for help as you discuss on the focus thread. Because believe me, many times I read these old documents and I have to read them several times before I understand them, and sometimes I have to ask my colleagues for help. So don't be embarrassed to ask for help if you're having difficulty. So just in closing, I'll say contact me. I'm here to help you. You'll find all of my contact information at the top of the syllabus. I have office hours every day. I'm accessible via email, and I'm very happy to help if any issues come up. I really want you to succeed in this course, and I'm greatly looking forward to working with you. Thanks very much, and welcome aboard.